خلافتنا بمسرور فتية عظيم شأنها بين البرية.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to another episode of Beacon of Guidance. This series is a compilation of questions and their answers given by Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrahil Aziz during various mulaqats with Ahmadis from all over the world. Let's start our program with the very first question. His Holiness on the 27th of February 2021 presided over a virtual mulaqat with Majlis Khudam al-Ahmadiyya Mauritius's National Amila, in which a member of the Amila inquired about guidelines for the members of Atfal al-Ahmadiyya and Khudam al-Ahmadiyya. Let's take a look at Hazur's response.
As far as Atfals are concerned, I have already told Mohtam Atfal that at the age of 14, 15, they should give special emphasis on their Atfal al-Ahmadiyya. That is very sensitive age. And when they enter Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, they feel that now they are grown up. You see, when the boy is at the age of 12 or 13, they are very much attached to the Jamaat activities and with Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, Atfal al-Ahmadiyya. But as they reach the age of 14, then they try to distance themselves sometime. And when they reach 15, then they think they are now grown up and can make their own decisions. And as soon as they enter Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, then they think now they are fully grown up. And when they attain the age of 18, then they think they are now fully matured. And now law permits them to do whatever they like. So at this age, you have to make special program, try to attach them with the Jamaat, try to make some programs which are of their interests. So you find out the ways and means how can we involve them in the Khudam al-Ahmadiyya activities. You just ask them that what type of activities you think will be beneficial for the Atfal al-Ahmadiyya to get them involved in the activities of Khudam al-Ahmadiyya. Not only just follow the traditional programs and plans, try to evolve new programs. You can give some questionnaire to the Atfal and Khudam that what do they suggest? How can we improve our activities? And if their suggestions are within the limits and the four walls of the traditions of the Jamaat and the teaching of Islam, then you can make your plans according to that. So that in this way you can get quite a number of Khudam and Atfal involved in your activities. So as much as you can attach Atfal and Khudam with the Jamaat's activities, the more you will make the proper asset of the Jamaat. Right?
Inshallah, Huzur.
In this way they will also be thinking that now they have some importance. This is why they have been asked to give some suggestions. Right? So ask from Atfal at the age of 14, 15, how can we improve the activities? And then when they enter Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, 16, 17, 18, then ask them. Right? And also make it a point that Khudam should also play some games, not just waste their time wandering on the streets or just playing indoor TV and internet games. They should play some physical games and go outside. They should prescribe time for them, that this is the time for them to go outside in the grounds and play either football or rugby or cricket or badminton or table tennis or whatever it is. Not only that, just waste their time on playing TV and video games.
For our second question in a virtual mulaqat with the United Kingdom's Waqf-e-Noor on the 28th of February 2021, His Holiness was asked, what can a Waqf-e-Noor medical student do in medical school to ensure that he becomes the best doctor for the Jamaat? Let's take a look at Hazur's response.
देखो, मेडिकल स्टूडेंट को तो वैसे ही पढ़ना चाहिए, whether he is a Waqf-e-Noor or not. تو نہیں پڑھو گے تو ڈگری نہیں ملے گی. اس لیے چاہے میڈیکل اسٹوڈنٹ ہے اور کسی بھی فیلڈ میں ہے, کنسنٹریٹ کرو اپنے پڑھائی پہ, اور دوسرے یہ ہے کہ دعاؤں کی طرف زور دو, اللہ سے تعلق بڑھاؤ, اپنی 5 نمازیں جو ہیں وہ پورے وقت پہ ادا کرو. ایک ایتھیسٹ جو ہے وہ اگر پڑھائی کر لے گا, محنت کر لے گا, اللہ تعالیٰ کو نہیں بھی مانتا تو اس فرق نہیں پڑتا, اس کو اس کا ریوارڈ اس پڑھائی کی محنت کا اللہ تعالیٰ اس کو دے دے گا. لیکن ایک مسلمان جو ہے, ایک احمدی جو ہے, وہ یہ بھی کلیم کرتا ہے کہ میں اسلام پہ بھی یقین کرتا ہوں, میں اللہ تعالیٰ پہ بھی یقین کرتا ہوں, اور اس بات پہ یقین کرتا ہوں کہ اللہ تعالیٰ میری مدد کرتا ہے. تو پھر اس کو پڑھائی کے ساتھ اس کو پروو کرنا پڑے گا, ثابت کرنا پڑے گا کہ میرا اللہ سے بھی تعلق ہے. اس لیے ایک احمدی کی محنت کے ساتھ دعا ہوگی تب وہ کامیابی اس کو اچھی ملے گی. یہ نہ سمجھو کہ ایتھیس کو کامیابی مل گئی تو مجھے بھی ملنی چاہیے, تم دونوں میں فرق ہے. اینڈ دس یو ہیو ٹو کنسیڈر دس ڈفرینس. بڑا سٹل قسم کا ڈفرینس ہے, اس کو یاد رکھنا پڑے گا, ٹھیک ہے. اور جو یاد رکھو گے تو اللہ تعالیٰ سے تعلق بھی پیدا کرو گے اور پڑھائی کی طرف توجہ دو گے, تو پھر اپنے جو ٹارگٹس ہیں ان کو حاصل کر سکو گے.
For our third question, Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih V, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz, presided over a virtual mulaqat with Waqfat-e-Noor from the United Kingdom on Saturday the 7th of May 2022. A member of the audience asked beloved Hazur Ayyadahullah Ta'ala, how can we safeguard ourselves from the negative impacts of social media?
تمہیں پتہ ہے سوشل میڈیا کون سی چیزیں نیگیٹیو ہیں, کون سی پازیٹیو ہیں؟
ہاں جی.
پتہ ہے نا؟
ہاں جی.
وہ ایک محاورہ ہے, کہتے ہیں کہ اگر کوئی سویا ہوا آدمی ہو اس کو تم جگا سکتے ہو, جو جاگ رہا ہو اس کو کس طرح جگاؤ گے؟ جو مچھلا بن کے سویا ہو, جو پریٹینڈ کر رہا ہو کہ میں سویا ہوا ہوں. اگر تم پریٹینڈ کر رہی ہو کہ میں سوئی ہوئی ہوں, تمہیں جو مرضی ہلاتا رہے تم اٹھو گی نہیں. اگر صحیح طرح سوئی ہوئی ہو حقیقت میں, تمہیں کوئی جگائے گا تو تم جاگ جاؤ گی, ہے نا. اور غصے میں جگانے والے کو کیا کہو گی, کیا مجھے تنگ کر رہا ہے, مجھے سونے نہیں دے رہا. تو بہرحال یہ جو سوشل میڈیا پہ جو باتیں آتی ہیں, نیگیٹیو بھی پازیٹیو بھی, جو نیگیٹیو باتیں اگر تمہیں پتہ ہے کہ کیا ہے تو ان کو اوائڈ کرو, ان کے قریب نہ جاؤ, ان کو نہ دیکھو. یہ تو ٹیمپٹیشن ہے نا, ٹیمپٹیشن ہو جاتی ہے. ایک آدمی ایک دفعہ کھولتا ہے ایک میڈیا پہ ایک لنک, اس میں دیکھ لیتا ہے, اس پہ انٹرسٹ پیدا ہوتا ہے, کیونکہ دیکھتا ہی نہیں کہ اس کے برے اثرات کیا ہو رہے ہیں. پھر اگلا, پھر دوسرا, پھر تیسری پروگرام دیکھنا شروع کر دیتا ہے اس پہ, اس سے غلط ہوتا ہے. تو پہلی دفعہ اگر تم دیکھو کہ سوشل میڈیا پہ کوئی ایسی چیز آئی ہے جو نیگیٹو اثر ڈال سکتی ہے تمہارے پہ, تو تم فوری طور پہ اس کو بند کر دو, اور اس سوشل میڈیا کی اور سائٹس جو اچھی ہیں ان کو دیکھ کے, جہاں نالج بھی ہے, علم بھی آ رہا ہے, یا ایجوکیشنل پروگرام ہے, یا دوسرے سائنس کے پروگرام ہے, ڈاکومنٹریز ہیں, یا اس کے اوپر کچھ کمنٹس ہیں, یا اور پڑھے لکھے سائنسدانوں کے کمنٹس ہیں, یا جماعت کے سوشل میڈیا ہے, ان پہ چلی جاؤ اور ان کو دیکھو, بجائے اس کے کہ نیگیٹو اثر ڈالنے والی سوشل میڈیا کو دیکھو. تو یہ تو خود اپنی ول پاور اور ڈٹرمنیشن اور ہے کہ کتنا تم اپنے آپ کو بچانا چاہتی ہو.
For our fourth question in the same virtual mulaqat with the UK's Waqf-e-Noor on the 28th of February 2021, a khadim asked beloved Hazur, what can we do as individual Waqf-e-Noor, what sacrifices can we make for the Jamaat, and what can we do to ensure that Allah the Almighty may accept our sacrifice? Let's take a look at Hazur's response.
وقف-e-نو کی قربانیاں جو اللہ تعالیٰ قبول کرے گا, اللہ تعالیٰ کوئی بھی نیک کام جو اللہ تعالیٰ کی خاطر کیا جائے وہ اللہ قبول کرتا ہے. سو اینی تھنگ یو آر ڈوئنگ ٹو پلیز اللہ تعالیٰ فار دا سیک آف اللہ تعالیٰ, دین ہی ول ایکسیپٹ اٹ. ایون اللہ تعالیٰ تو کہتا ہے کہ اگر تم اپنی بیوی کے منہ میں لقمہ ڈالتے ہو نا, روٹی کا, بیوی کے منہ میں لقمہ ڈال رہے ہو روٹی کا میرا پیار حاصل کرنے کی خاطر, تو وہ بھی تمہاری قربانی کنسیڈر ہوگی اور وہ بھی اللہ تعالیٰ کو پسند آ جائے گی. तो अल्लाह ताला तो यहाँ तक उसकी मर्सी की एक्सटेंट है कि वो तुम अपनी बीवी के मुंह में खाना डाल रहे हो, लेकिन इस नीयत से डाल रहे हो कि तुम अल्लाह का की खातिर कुर्बानी करते हो, उसका प्यार हासिल करना चाहते हो, तो अल्लाह ताला कहेगा लो आई एक्सेप्ट योर सेक्रीफाइस। सो ये इस एक्सटेंट तक तो सेक्रीफाइसेस की डेफिनेशन बयान कर दी है हज़रत सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने। इससे और ज़्यादा क्या चाहिए तुम्हें? हैं कोई भी काम, whatever you are doing to achieve the love of Allah and for the sake of Allah, Allah will accept it and consider it as your sacrifice for Him.
For the fifth question of this segment, Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih V, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz, presided over a virtual mulaqat with Waqf Noor from the United States of America on the 29th of May 2022. A member of the audience asked Hazur how Hazur chose the field of agriculture and what motivated him to become a Waqf-e-Zindagi.
Oh, very difficult question. Achha. What are you doing?
I just finished my third year of college, university.
What are you studying?
I'm majoring in biology to become a dentist, inshallah.
It's a dentist, mashallah. You see, from the very childhood, I had a keen interest in agriculture. So I wanted to go into the field of agriculture, but unfortunately I could not. But later on, after graduating with economics, and my father also asked me that if possible, you can go to agriculture university. And one thing is simply that there I had better opportunity to get admission than any other university. This was the simplest way, and because of my interest as well. So I got admission in agriculture economics or in the field of cooperation and credit. So there you have to deal with farmers and all these things. So there are some courses with regards to practical agriculture, that is agronomy and arable farming. And if you are outsider or you join the university after graduation, then you have to complete some deficiency courses. Since I knew agriculture and I had a keen interest from the very beginning, I used to go with my father to our family farm. So I did those deficiency courses with good results, and later on completed my degree in cooperation and credit as well. That was the main thing which caused me to go to the agriculture university and do agriculture. Second question is that what motivated me to become a Waqf-e-Zindagi. From the very childhood, I wanted to be Waqf-e-Zindagi because once I heard my father and one of my uncle talking that unfortunately very few family members of the Prophet Islam are going to join Waqf-e-Zindagi. So that engraved in my heart. But I didn't want that I do Waqf without any qualification. So when I joined agriculture university, then at that time I promised that if I get good grades, A grade, then I will do Waqf. I prayed to Allah Ta'ala that if you think that I am capable of doing Waqf, then please give me good grades. You know, as far as my own self is concerned, I am nothing. So I don't know how, but fortunately I had A grade. And when I had that grade, I was obliged to apply for Waqf-e-Zindagi. I wrote a letter to Khalifatul-Masih that now since I have completed my MSc degree and with good grades, I want to do waqf. And he accepted. And later on, he asked me to go to Africa. And that is the whole story.
For the sixth question of this segment, Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih V, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala, presided over 2 virtual mulaqats from Waqf-e-Nau members from Finland on the 18th of December 2021. A Waqf-e-Nau asked, what is Hazur's advice regarding doing tabligh to those who say that we are in peace already?
उनसे कहो तुम्हारी बात बिल्कुल ठीक है और हमें यही करना चाहिए, लेकिन मुश्किल ये है कि हम जब अमन की बात करने वाले हैं, हम अहमदी हैं और हमने उस शख्स को माना है जिसने अमन फैलाने के लिए आना था हज़रत सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की पेशगोइयों के मुताबिक, और हमारी मुखालफत ये लोग करते हैं। इसलिए हमारी जहाँ तक कोशिश होती है हम उनको भी बताते हैं, लेकिन हम तुम्हारे से बात तो सिर्फ इसलिए कर रहे हैं कि तुम्हें ये बताएं, अगर तुम्हारे दिमाग में कोई शकूक हैं इस्लाम के बारे में कि इस्लाम पुरअमन मज़हब नहीं है, तो वो दूर हो जाए। तुम्हें हम कायल करने के लिए नहीं बता रहे कि तुम इस्लाम ले आओ। इस्लाम लाना, मज़हब बदलना हर एक का अपने दिल का मामला है। आप लोगों के अच्छे अखलाक होंगे तो वो लोग खुद ही करीब आएंगे आप लोगों के। हाँ, उनको कहें हम तो सिर्फ तुम्हें ये बताना चाहते हैं कि तुम्हारे दिल में क्योंकि शकूक हैं इस्लाम के बारे में, तुम लोग समझते हो कि इस्लाम बड़ा बुरा मज़हब है और शिद्दत पसंद मज़हब है और जुल्म करने वाला मज़हब है, तो इसलिए हम बात कर रहे हैं कि इस्लाम की असल तालीम ये नहीं है। इसके अलावा हमारा कोई मकसद नहीं कि तुम्हें हम ज़रूर कहें कि तुम मुसलमान हो जाओ, ना इस तरह मुसलमान होने के लिए कहना चाहिए किसी को। जब आप मुस्तकिल बातें करेंगी और आपके अमल वो देखेंगी, आपके करीब आएंगी, आपके दोस्त बनेगी, तो ख़ुद ही जिसके दिल को अल्लाह ताला ने फेरना होगा इस्लाम और अहमदियत की तरफ, वो अल्लाह ताला खुद ही फेर देगा। आप बराह रास्त कहेंगे ना, देखो इस्लाम पुरअमन मज़हब है इसलिए तुम कबूल कर लो, तो वो कहेगा जाओ पहले अपने आप को ठीक करो, मुझे क्या समझा रही हो।
We will now move on to the second segment of this program, looking at answers given by Hazrat Khalifatul-Masih V, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin-Nasrihi al-Aziz, to questions received by Ahmadis from all over the world. These questions and their answers have been taken from the Al-Hakam's Answers to Everyday Issues column. A missionary wrote to Hazrat Amirul-Mu'mineen Khalifatul-Masih V, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala, inquiring about concealing voluntary good deeds or nawafil from people. He expressed that he was not seeking a formal religious edict or fatwa, but rather desired the personal viewpoint of Hazur Ayyadahullah Ta'ala. Hazur Anwar, in his letter dated the 11th of May 2022, provided the following response to his query.
A fundamental point here is that you, despite being a missionary of the community, have asked me for my personal opinion rather than a religious ruling or fatwa. I will certainly only say what is correct and aligns with Islamic teachings. It will not merely reflect my personal views, but will accord with the fatwa of the Jamaat. As far as your question is concerned, Islam prohibits prying into others' affairs. Therefore, no one else has the right to poke their nose into the nature of a person's fasts undertaken for the sake of God Almighty, and ask whether they are supererogatory or intended to compensate for missed obligatory fasts. Moreover, Islam has instructed its followers to perform good deeds both publicly and privately. Various Islamic modes of worship embody both overt and covert actions, and both kinds of righteous deeds have their unique advantages. For instance, Allah the Almighty states in the Holy Quran regarding financial sacrifices, "If you give alms openly, that is indeed good, but if you give them secretly to the poor, it is even better for your own selves." Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 272. He further states, "Those who spend their wealth in the cause of Allah by night and day, secretly and openly, have their reward with their Lord. On them shall come no fear, nor shall they grieve." Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 275. The promised Messiah alayhi salam, comparing this Quranic commandment of performing both open and hidden acts of goodness with the teachings of the gospel and explaining its wisdom, states, "Similarly, the gospel instructs that you should not perform good deeds so that they should be seen by others, but the Quran admonishes against concealing all your actions from others. Instead, when wisdom dictates, perform certain actions secretly when you deem it better for your soul, and display certain actions when you believe they will benefit others in general. Thus, you will have two rewards, and as a result of your actions, those weaker people who find it difficult to muster the courage to commit good acts might be inspired to follow your example. God Himself has elaborated on the wisdom of this teaching in His word by saying, Sirran wa alaniyah. That is to say, do good works, both secretly and openly. This means that not only should one counsel others verbally, but encourage by example as well. Mere words are not always adequate in every situation. One's practical example often has a greater impact on others. Kashtiya Nuh Ruhani Khaza'in, Volume 19, pages 31 to 32. Hence, if the intent of the doer of good is pure, that is, the intention is that others may also be inspired by this open act of goodness, or if his act of goodness inadvertently becomes apparent to people, then there is no need to worry or resort to pretexts to hide this goodness. This is because the Holy Prophet ﷺ has instructed that the reward and punishment of human actions depend upon the intent of the doer of good. Sahih al-Bukhari, Kitabu Bad al-Wahy. However, such a person should continue to pray to Allah Almighty that He protects him from Satan's attacks, that instead of hypocrisy and ostentation, humility and submission are inculcated in him, and that his overt act of goodness also grants others the ability to perform good deeds, so that he may also partake in the rewards of their good deeds, because the Holy Prophet ﷺ has also said, Inna dala ala al-khayri kafa'ilihi. Indeed, the one who guides others to do good is like the one who does them. Sunan at-Tirmidhi, Kitab al-Ilmi an Rasulillah, Bab ma ja'a.
For our last correspondence of the day, someone from Jordan asked Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Ayyadahullah Ta'ala whether a woman during her menstruation is obliged to give fidyah for not fasting. If some fasts are missed due to any excuse, is it necessary to make them up under all circumstances, or are all these fasts annulled after a certain period? For example, if a person is ill and cannot fast for 2 years, is it necessary to fast for all the past days after recovering? How can a pregnant or nursing woman who cannot fast during Ramadan for 2 years or more make up these fasts? Hazur Anwar, in his letter dated the 16th of May 2022, provided the following guidance in this regard.
The onset of menstruation is a natural physiological condition for women. The Holy Quran has deemed it a state of discomfort for them. Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 223. In this state, Allah the Exalted has granted women a reprieve from all forms of worship. Utilizing this dispensation granted by Allah Almighty is indeed the true act of obedience and is also reward-bearing. Therefore, making up for the fasts of Ramadan that could not be observed due to menstruation is sufficient. There is no obligation to offer a fidyah. However, if a woman has the means to give fidyah and desires to give it willingly, as an additional act of virtue, there is no prohibition against this. One of the reasons for giving fidyah is also to gain the ability and opportunity to fast, as the promised Messiah ﷺ has said, Once this question occurred to me as to why fidyah had been constituted. Then I realized that it is so ordained to invoke God to create favorable circumstances, tawfiq, for one to be able to fast. Al-Hakam, number 44, volume 6, 10th of December, 1902. Page 9. As for the fasts that are missed for some valid excuse, they must be made up later, as this is the Quranic command, as it states, Therefore, he who witnesses this month, being stationary and in health, should fast through it, but whoso is ailing, not being permanently incapacitated, or is on a journey, should complete the reckoning by fasting on a corresponding number of other days. Allah desires ease for you and desires not hardship for you. He has granted you this facility so that you should not encounter no hardship in completing the reckoning, and that you may exalt Allah for His having guided you, and that you may be grateful to Him. Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 186. Therefore, it is obligatory to make up for the fasts of Ramadan after the valid excuse has ceased. But if someone becomes so afflicted that they cannot make up for these fasts even later, then Allah the Exalted has guided them towards the payment of fidyah as per their capacity, as it is stated, and for those who find fasting a strain hard to bear is an expiation. The feeding of a poor person, if they can afford it. Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 186. Regarding the compensation for missed fasts after the justifiable reason has ceased and the payment of fidyah, the promised Messiah alayhi salam states, fidyah may only be contemplated in the case of a frail elder, Sheikh Fani, or the likes, who lack the necessary strength to ever complete a fast. Otherwise, for general people who regain health and become capable of fasting again, the contemplation of merely offering fidyah would equate to ushering in a complete laxity in religious observance. In our view, a faith devoid of personal striving, mujahada, holds no significance. Absolving ourselves of the responsibilities bestowed upon us by God in this way is a grave sin. Allah the Exalted has said that He will guide only those who strive in His path. Surah Al-Ankabut, chapter 29, verse 70. Badr, number 43, volume 6, 24th of October, 1907, page 3. So, in essence, if some fasts of Ramadan are left due to some valid excuse, these should be made up after the excuse has ceased. And if one has the ability, fidyah may also be paid for not being able to fast during Ramadan. If someone permanently lacks the strength to make up for these fasts, then according to the verse, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, Allah burdens not any soul beyond its capacity, Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 287, such a person will be considered excused in the sight of Allah the Exalted. If they have the strength to pay fidyah in lieu of these fasts, then they should do so. And if they do not even possess the ability to pay fidyah, they will still be deemed excused in this matter in the sight of Allah the Exalted. The same rule will apply to pregnant and nursing women. If a person has missed fasts for more than one Ramadan month due to a legitimate excuse, and subsequently Allah blesses them with the ability to fast after the removal of this excuse, they should strive to make up for these missed fasts gradually, to the best of their ability. Nevertheless, there exist divergent interpretations concerning the observance of missed fasts, spanning more than one Ramadan year. Some Islamic jurists maintain that missed fasts from prior years cannot be observed in subsequent years. However, Hazrat Muslim Ma'ud radiallahu anh has provided different guidance on this matter. He advises, I wish to counsel the community that those members who did not observe all the fasts of Ramadan should make them up and complete them later, regardless of whether these fasts were missed due to negligence, illness or travel. Similarly, if they have missed any fasts in the past years due to negligence or any religiously justified excuse, they should also endeavour to complete them before standing before Allah Almighty, so they can be absolved. Some jurists hold the belief that missed fasts from previous years cannot be observed in the following year. However, I hold a different view on this matter. If someone was unable to fast due to ignorance, then ignorance can be forgiven. However, if they intentionally chose not to fast, similar to intentionally missing a prayer, there is no option or provision to make up for it, qada. On the other hand, if they missed a fast due to forgetfulness or an error in legal reasoning, I believe they can make it up, and it is preferable for them to do so. Yes, if they could have fasted but deliberately chose not to, then there is no qada. When they repent, their deeds will start afresh. However, if they did not fast due to negligence, a mistake resulting from flawed reasoning, or illness, I believe that regardless of how far back these fasts date, they can still be made up. Al-Fazl, number 55, volume 50 to 51, 8th of March 1961, pages 2 to 3.
And that concludes another episode of Beacon of Guidance. Do join us again for the next episode, where we'll be sharing some of the questions that have been posed in front of Hazur Aqdas from Ahmadis from all over the world and his faith-inspiring responses. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.